Hey guys, we're back playing Spider-Man. I was just looking it up. The Miles Morales Spider-Man is actually going to come out in the next few months. I'm not 100% sure whether or not I'm going to get that because from what I've heard and what I've seen, Miles Morales one pales in comparison
What do you know about
the actual
Sable
Spider-Man game.
International?
Let me see. They're an international security firm, usually hired by governments to end revolutions. Or start them.
The last thing we need is a city full of trigger-happy mercenaries.
Social media's blowing up. They're setting up checkpoints around the city, doing random stop and frisks. This is crazy.
No, this is Norman Osborn feeling threatened.
There you go.
Aw, you can't fool me, Mr. Gruff Exterior. I know you love me, and I love you back.
Oh, there's another one. They're everywhere.
Those Sable guys might be able to handle this, but I can't take the chance. A couple more cool outfits and we can start a pro wrestling league.
I'm getting used to the combat now. Like, I feel like I'm getting to the point. Maybe it's because I got a couple
Demons are getting bold.
skill point upgrades. Let's go do this.
All units, mass terrorists are believed to be transporting a bomb.
I'll do that later.
Officers needed south of Houston.
This is more important because this gives me a fast travel spot. And to be fair, I don't know if I'll ever really use these, but
This is one of Mom's earliest projects. We were trying to develop a bacteria that would dissolve all the plastic in the oceans. But well, she ran out of time. Like, if you have any ideas, it would really mean a lot.
With some genetic tweaking, I might be able to crack it. But I need a better equipped lab. And the bacteria only lives in liquid environments. Wait, my web fluid. I can keep the bacteria alive in my web cartridge. ESU should have the chemicals I need to increase its power. Oh man, the bacteria dissolved my web. It's in the cartridge for the webs I swing from. The other kind should be okay. Now I have to get to ESU without swinging from anything.
oh, it's still
The
kind of
zipline
easy.
webs seem fine. Well, I'm getting a heck of a workout. Gotta hustle. I don't know how long this bacteria stays viable. This is good practice for if my web shooters ever malfunction. You'd think these people never saw a guy jogging on walls. Pardon me.
Oh no, that's pretty quick.
Okay. By law, they have to dispose of their chemicals in these containers. Should be some stuff I can use. All set. Now I have to get to Dr. Octavius's lab to combine everything. I'd just take the subway, but the bacteria won't survive that long.
I couldn't imagine running this. I'm glad I got the upgrade to do multiple pulls with the web thing. There we go.
Okay, now I just need to grab the bonding agent. And now the industrial centrifuge that'll get the bacteria out of my web fluid so I can store it properly. Just need to isolate the bacteria.
Oh, this is a normal-ish one? Do the complicated one first, I guess. Wait, this one? There you go. No, that's the last one. Oh, one of these is not quite like the others. What did I do wrong here? So these two don't work. So maybe I have to swap these over? I'm so confused. Because this is perfect. Unless it isn't. What if I... Oh, now I got all screwed up. Let's see. This and this. Make that. This. And this also make that. Interesting. There we go. So that's that solved. I think I ended up back where I started. So let's try this then. Is there a combination of 3 of these that don't end up having me put... So like if I put this and there's no 1, so I can't use that piece. Can't use that piece. I can use that piece. I could use that piece if it was flipped, but it's not. But I don't see any pieces that would give me 2 lefts, or any pieces that combine that would give me just those 2. I mean, there's this one. Is there one, just one that goes all the way to the left? No. So I don't think there's any pattern for this one where I don't have to use this. I'm being dumb right now. There. So I think that's the only way to solve that piece. This one at the bottom has to be included no matter what. Because there is no 3 single piece, and so I'll always take a combination of 2 to make this one, and there's no combination that exists here that just flat out makes those 2. I don't think there's a combination of 3 things there that makes just this pattern either. So that's gotta remain as that. Or at least a combination of 3. That has to be this has to be a combination of 2 doubles. Absolutely has to be. Or it has to be a combination of 1 double with 1. That's the only way that's gonna work. So now I'm just left with these 3 pieces. Which again don't work. So what am I doing wrong? This is killing me. It's killing me, Smalls. Does this one have to be this combination though? Can I swap these 2 with other ones? There's gotta be something I'm missing here, something obvious. God, what am I doing? I don't think this solved anything. Oh man. Um. That solves those two now, so they're perfect. I should have solved the other two first and left the complicated one last. Alright.
Beautiful. I think I improved the bacteria. But I can only tell for sure back at Harry's research station.
I guess that's just me being big
My
dumb.
web swinging back. Let's see. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, sweet web swinging. I'll never take you for granted again.
Oh, come on,
I
it
hope this
wasn't that
works.
bad.
I remember when Harry's mom started the project. It meant so much to them both. Where there's a web, there's a way. There's the testing receptacle, full of plastic. Let's see what happens.
Is it gonna eat the plastic?
It's working. Not as fast as I'd hoped, but better than before. Probably needs further testing.
That's cool.
It didn't get all the plastic, but it's a big step forward. Enough for Oscorp to keep working on it. They'd win the Nobel Prize. And it wouldn't hurt their stock price either.
A bacteria that eats plastic. That's kind of novel. Because the whole problem with plastic is there's nothing on the planet that makes it
Pigeon
degrade
alert.
any faster. Well,
It's getting away.
nothing naturally occurring anyway. Yeah, that's certain types of plastics. That's not all, but why can't I get you yet? There you are.
Taking you home, buddy.
Yeah, this is a big problem. I don't know. It's so. If you guys are watching this, pause it. Go look up the Pacific Garbage Patch. It's quite literally an island just made of garbage, and there's a good number of organizations trying to clean it up, like Team C's.
I've just received an update on Adrian Toombs, aka the Vulture.
And
Apparently, this winged criminal has
it's
fallen
pretty
ill
sad.
with cancer, and he's been moved to the Raft's infirmary for treatment, which will undoubtedly cost a fortune in public funds. Now, let me ask you. Why do we even have an infirmary at the Raft? It's a supermax prison.
Yeah, look up Team C's and what they're doing. It's actually pretty incredible that there's an organization out there willing to mainly just benefit humanity and actually clean up all the trash. A lot of these places that trash originate from to get into that garbage patch, it's not necessarily their fault. It's just in their communities, in their towns, they don't have proper facilities like you might be used to, where you can just throw something in the trash or in the recycling bin. Um, they just put it wherever, and it just, as rain comes down, it just goes downstream. They're not like, they don't want to do it. It's just the way that it has been done over there because they don't have the ability to get proper recycling, to get proper trash pickup. Even then, it goes to a landfill, and it just sits there. It never really degrades properly, or at least it doesn't degrade for thousands of years. So there's an inherent problem with plastic.
Hey, Pete. This station's one of my pet projects. I always thought the cellular network was vulnerable to terrorist attacks, so I set this up to monitor it. Can you do me a favor? Look for anything suspicious.
Uh-oh. It's not terrorists, but there's a glitch in the system that's causing interference. And if I don't fix it, it'll bring the whole network down. Right now, it's only affecting the most sensitive equipment, like mine. I need to stay outside the areas of interference while I fix the cell towers.
Oh, good.
There. I set my lenses to show me the danger zones. Gotta fix the cell towers before the whole city's comms go down. The size of the problem area fluctuates. I need to be ready for a sudden change. One down. But I'll need to fix 3 more to solve the problem. Bet I can use those helicopters to swing. So much depends on cellular networks now. A crash would affect police, hospitals. It'd be as bad as a blackout. Gotta hurry. Soon the whole system's gonna go.
Ooh, that was close.
Got it. The job's only halfway done. Oh man, I wish there was a way to fix this for everyone except people who use their phones in movie theaters. The problem's getting worse. I'm running out of time. Invisible walls closing in. I feel like I'm... Got that one fixed. Bought me some time, but I can't slow down.
Okay, where's the next one? Oh boy.
Can't waste a second. Getting to be a tight squeeze. Okay, let's not do that again.
Up, up. Down, down. Damn it.
Can't waste a second. Getting to be a tight squeeze.
Ow, 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 ow. That wasn't ridiculous, jeez.
Bam! Now New Yorkers can share their domestic disputes on the subway again.
But yeah,
And emergency services are safe.
look up
which
the
is
Pacific
also
Garbage
important.
Patch. And if
the
you're
network
inclined, see what
crashed,
you can
the
do to
Red
help.
Coast Oscorp a bundle to fix their comms. They'll want to keep this station up and running. Harry's project should be safe.
Whether it's actually going there or inquiring about helping or providing money. See what you can do to help, because we all live in one planet, or on one planet. We all have to respect it. And the more education that's tossed around that fact,
Immediate backup needed.
the better it's going to be for everyone.
Bring on police. Proceed to 2 bridges. Over.
But yeah, the main reason why it's a problem is
Humans are
plastic
getting
doesn't
worse than
really
this
degrade
ever was.
for at least thousands of years, and it gets over animals, and you know, we eat the animals, so it's a problem for not only us but them. Them but us. You get what I mean? Like I always thought, for instance, if we're talking about like global warming and all these pollution issues, everything else. I always thought it was incredibly odd that these giant cargo ships and these giant ships that transport fluids across the ocean, why are they pumping out diesel? Like, why are they fueled by diesel out of all things? That just seems like a terrible idea. There have been ships and barges and other things of the like
He loved New York.
that have spilled off into the ocean.
Seems like they just want to tear the city to...
And it's just a giant like economic impact for the all the animals and fish whenever that happens. But not only isn't it a sorry, I said the term. It's not economic, but there's a giant impact in the wildlife in that area whenever that happens. Meaning there's a lot of death and disease that happens right afterwards. It also does affect us too, because you know we fish, we cultivate animals for food, and we also have to drink the same water. Even if we purify it, we have to go through the measures of purifying it. So it's really, really important that
Mr. Again.
the tools that we use.
Bet you're wondering why I'm back in the game. Straight and narrow just got boring. My target number's 50 million. Nice round number, don't you think?
Huh.
But if you catch me before I hit my goal, I'll give it all back and go straight. My future's in your hands, Spider.
I don't know. It's not an issue that can be resolved right away, but it's weird how these giant container ships, oil ships, all this other stuff that is on top of the ocean. I mean, yes, cars do pollute. Undoubtedly. They raise the carbon emissions for the planet. But it's incredibly ignorant to think that these giant ships that come from overseas. I live in the U.S., so China over that giant strait of sea. That's a. You get what I mean? Thousands of miles away. It's stupid to use oil or gas or diesel to power that. Especially when it costs so much now for oil, gas, or diesel. When it costs so much for petroleum-based fluids. It would be it would be more efficient long-term to base it on electricity in some way or fashion. If that's batteries, if that's giant capacitors, humongous capacitors, it needs to be done at some point. I don't know how many lithium batteries you need, but since lithium at least doesn't use cobalt anymore, and a lot of the mining facilities that used to use cobalt, as well as like other other materials that were mined.
Ooh, so ominous.
Since that doesn't happen anymore, or is at least ramping down, you could potentially make a giant battery pack on a cargo ship and have everything electric powered. It'd be interesting to see, considering the weight, and because of the weight, it would take up cargo space. But at the same time,
Reckon I'll help the guys who didn't blow up City Hall.
I believe it would be more efficient long term
Those Sable
in
guys don't
cost
like me.
and
So
just
imagine how much I
efficiency
don't like you.
and pollution. Because well, you can recharge a battery pack, generally speaking, at least 1,000 times before the cells go bad, and even then, when they go bad, they're not actually. Usually, they're not actually bad. Usually, they can provide some power somewhere in a different configuration to others. Like Tesla, for instance, is famous for its power walls and its cars. Well, the power walls are actually car batteries from their Tesla cars recycled into the Powerwall stations. And then on top of that, if the battery truly does go, like the chemicals just don't work anymore, there are recycling facilities that are being stood up to handle that. And while it's not 100% recycle rate, it's up there. I think it's 80% now or 90%. I'm sure you could look all that up to like verify that, but it's up there. They're getting better. I do think we need a better battery than lithium at some point, but that's what we got right now.
This area's full of Wall Street guys. Target-rich environment.
There's also other sources. I don't know if a kinetic source would actually be that efficient for that kind of boat, but kinetics is extremely dangerous. But they're also kind of amazing. I don't remember where it is, but there's a facility somewhere where there's basically a giant. It's basically a giant well, and instead of a bucket, it's a giant weight. And on the end of the metal rope, the truss or whatever for the weight, is a generator. And what happens is, instead of using batteries or some other storage technology to store energy, use kinetics. So this well goes down like hundreds of feet deep, right? And this weight weighs, let's say, 30 tons. Or like 60,000 pounds, somewhere around there. Which actually is not really that much for what the system is. But I'm just making an example. The energy of that 60,000 pounds moving downward can be recaptured by that generator using the wires that are traveling along the well as the weight goes down. And because you're spinning that generator, over time you can feed it back into a grid to provide power for everybody in the area. That's huge. That like eliminates batteries in general. The problem is all the construction needed in the maintenance, because it's a physical moving object. There's going to be maintenance involved. So there's that. There's also other different forms of storing energy other than just chemically. Chemically is batteries, basically. But kinetics are amazing because they're mostly simple moving objects, and you're also usually using gravity or some sort of mass that's constantly rotating. One of the two usually. And the cool thing about the wells in particular is they can be kinetically recharged, meaning you can draw the weight back up to the top of the well as you get excess power from the grid. So there's points in time that people use energy in their households, and obviously you use a lot less during the night than you do during the day. But during like 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, usually there's a giant spike, pretty much no matter where you are. It's like the power-hungry part of the day. And with cars being able to charge on homes and being able to and getting our energy that way instead of using fuels, it's only going to get worse. So one way to kind of compromise for that is, instead of building more energy structure, you could build kinetic wells, and at night you would draw up the weight from the well And during the day, when you needed more energy than you could make to go to these people's homes, you could just let the weight from the well slowly slide down, and it would turn a giant generator that would add more electricity back into the grid. And you just repeat that cycle every day. If you think about it, that's a lot more efficient than storing energy chemically. You need more, I think you need more mass, so you might need more material in the long run, but it's simple material. It's not complex. You don't need a factory for it.
Need to get a look at Lee's office.
Again, there is more maintenance involved than probably a chemical battery, but you also I don't think you would ever really have to worry about recycling because it's all made out of common materials: copper, metal, magnets. Might be electromagnets. It might not even be regular magnets, which would mean you wouldn't have permanent magnets to even recycle. Whoa, that was weird.
Real talk, guys. The Destroy New York stick is getting
But the other advantages to electricity is it's instant. Well, it's near instant. It's as close as you can get to like the speed of light. So it's one of the closest things out there to that type of speed where it doesn't really matter too much anymore when you're talking about normal convenience. Whereas, you know, these vehicles that, even on the drag strip, these vehicles that rely on fuel, they have problems where they can't suck down fuel fast enough to actually get the horsepower to get the fuel into the cylinders, to atomize the fuel, ignite it, burn it, and get all that power to the tires by using mechanical leverage from the pistons down to the crank, down to the transmission, to get to the tires. There's a lot of things that have to happen to make a wheel spin in a regular car. If you ever watch one of those Top Fuel dragsters, I don't know if it's gallons, but they suck down fuel in seconds. It's incredible how fast they suck down fuel. At one point, I heard that what was it? I'm trying to think of that fast car. The Bugatti. Regardless of the model, it has a V16, or a W16, so it's two like V8s shoved together. Obviously a little bit more complex than that, but it's basically that. And the incredible thing about that car is if you hit the throttle all the way down and just keep going as fast as you can, I believe that car gets up to 230 or 250 miles an hour. But if you were to do that, you would suck down the entirety of that gas tank, and I think it's like 10 minutes. Which I think it's got like a 20-gallon gas tank. I don't know what the exact figures are, but it's in minutes. In minutes, the gas tank's gone. The entire thing. Instead, you could do that with electricity. And the advantage to electricity with, you know, high-performing vehicles in general, or things that need to move fast quickly, is it's as instant as you can get because it is electricity. Electrons moving through a wire is one of the fastest moving things that you can possibly get in the world. And the nature of most motors is that they give all the torque all the time, even at like 1 RPM. For the most part, that's true. Once you get to a certain RPM, a certain higher RPM range, they do start to fall off. I don't know what the specific reason for it, but there is a reason for it. It's probably just to do with air friction, because you got magnets rotating in a stator. So at some point you have to count air as like fluid, and there's friction to fluid like a lot more than normal. But in all honesty, like, imagine getting power, not having, I mean, no gears in a car.
Ground team
You
to
can do
control.
that,
What's the situation in the Lower East Side? Control.
but
Checkpoint Zulu.
and to actually achieve the normal speeds that you would do on like a highway or something, I don't think you need a transmission in a electric car, at least usually. If you start with the mindset that you're only going to use the rotation from the motor to determine your speed with your tires and with your combination of mechanical parts that go to that tire, I think you can manage without a transmission and still be quite efficient in mechanical energy coming from the chemical energy of the batteries into the motors. But the high performance vehicles, they do tend to need one or two. They do tend to need 2 or 3 gears, just to smoothen out, because there is a torque curve on a electric motor, but the curve is more like a high start and then and slowly fall off as the RPMs get higher. I'm sure there's a reason for that. I don't remember what it was. Like I said before, it could be just something about the fact that it's moving air internally and it's got to pass through that air, and it's just has to overcome the friction inside the motor itself to push past faster RPMs. And it becomes the square law after a while, where like everything else, the faster you move, the more power you need. It's not linear. It's more than linear. It's like I believe it's the square law or something around that.
All units, a truck carrying an armed explosive is evading
There we go.
pursuit.
Anyway, long story short, there's a lot you can do with electricity, regardless of even what it is. So it would be better off to base almost everything on electricity if we can, if it's safe to do so, rather than basing it off of some weird
No turn signals? Gonna have to write you out.
material
Here's your stuff.
that takes an exuberant amount of energy to begin with to even get it off from the ground, out of the ground. Whereas electricity is what we use every single day anyway.
There's a bomb in the truck. Gotta disable it.
How do I disarm it? Oh? Okay.
Bet you 10 to 1 those guys didn't even have licenses.
Alright. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. I don't have all the answers about, like, electric stuff. But when it comes down to it, every example I have ever seen so far, it's better to base stuff off electricity. Like, any of the tools that you use, any of the, unless you want to base it off of kinetics, which is fine, too. It's just better to base it off that than some other exotic fluid or material that you have to either get out of the ground or use energy to begin with to even process. Whereas electricity, there's so many different forms that you can get from, like, you can get electricity out of. Wind turbines, even water mills, or not a mill, but a dam. A mill turns kinetic energy into more kinetic energy, but a dam, a hydroelectric, or solar panel using photovoltaics. And I wouldn't advertise it or recommend it because the whole point of going electric is to get rid of all the emissions, but you technically could use coal, gas, or most other combustion fuels to power something that would produce electric.
Well, that sounds terrific, Mr. Mayor.
And
Though, of course, I'll have to reserve
electricity
my tough but fair
is a lot
final
more
judgment
efficient
until I have all the
to
facts.
transport because you don't have to have a truck or a car or a cargo ship or what have you to transport it. You can put it across a wire. And it's a lot cheaper to put it across the wire than it is to put it across the, to physically transport it.
So I can share my theory on how Spider-Man may well be working with the demons.
And a fascinating theory it is, I'm sure. But my doctors are advising me to get some rest now, so if you don't mind.
Oh, of course. Thank you for calling in, Mr. Mayor. My lines are open for you anytime. Garrett, did you hear? Tough but fair! That's our new slogan. I don't care who else is using it. Don't care.
There we go. Let's see. Another cat. I don't know. It's an interesting subject.
Oh, Spider-Man, you're a prince. I just found Vanessa in the loft.
I love these names. Is Sandra happy to see them back?
Well, actually, she's not with us anymore. Cancer, you know.
Howard, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Life's for living, not moping. First thing she told me after the diagnosis. Gotta remind myself of that every now and again. Keep looking, will you? Finding the rest of these birds would really mean a lot. Thanks, Spider-Man.
Felicia's leading me on a chase, but that's what's gonna help me find her. By feeding all the past locations into an algorithm, I can narrow down her likely point of origin.
Where is it? Yeah, electrics in general is an interesting topic because it's somewhere around here.
Bam! I was too late.
There's
to
so
stop
many
here.
ways to get
One or two
electricity,
more
something
locations
to
should give
get
me enough data to pinpoint
to
her
convert
hideout.
something into electricity or to convert electricity into something else. It's like a common
Attention all units. We have
um
confirmed reports of an active bomb. Reported
it's a very,
location
very
of
common
Dorito.
energy energy conversion. And since it's just so common, it just makes so much sense to base other things off of electricity in general.
We have a hostage situation involving a tourist bus. Converge on the East Village.
Yeah. So that got me thinking, if I had a superpower, what would I want? And a lot of people would say super strength, flying, and a ton of other things that you could poke holes in pretty easy. Like super strength is a problem in general because if you have super strength, that's great, but it means nothing if you can't use it. What is worse? Having super strength, but you're just a normal human, so when you go to use your super strength, you break your own bones. Or you snap your tendons. That's fun. Or super speed, where again you run into the problem of if you were just able to move fast, you'd be able to go pretty fast. You'd be able to run, but have you ever just bicycled down a path or down a road and had like a downhill? Ever feel like your eyes like get dry or you start to heave a bunch because you're getting a lot of air into your throat while you're moving really fast? and you get really dry and you can't breathe too well. Imagine that magnified. Like, or just the simple fact that after a certain speed, I mean, your clothes would rip off. B, if you didn't have like super speed thinking as well, you wouldn't be able to handle your own speed. You would have to self-limit because you would be running into people, or running into trees, or running into buildings. Imagine if you had super speed and you killed yourself because you ran so fast that you couldn't think fast enough to outrun, to outthink your running, and you ran into a wall and died. Like a 60-mile-an-hour to 0 collision with no cushion. So you just instantly die. You go splat in the wall. So all these superpowers have like inherent things that they all, like, these superheroes also need to make use of them. Just one power does not work in real life. It will never just work in real life. So if I had like a superpower, I would have to go with something that just not magnifies what I can currently do, but something additional that I can't do already. Like being able to, let's say, interface with computers without any need of a keyboard, mouse, or anything else. Just being able to absorb data straight from computers. Imagine how useful that would be.
Can't forget to stop by Feast. Need to get a look at Lee's office.
It sounds very simple, and it sounds even kind of stupid, but imagine if you could absorb all the information from the internet. The good and the bad. Obviously, you could choose what to act on and what you can't, but you would basically have all the information available to human society in your head after you touch a computer. That would be amazing. You'd be able to do pretty much anything with just knowledge. You want an Iron Man suit? Well, you have the knowledge to make it. Don't know if you have the money, but you have the knowledge. But you can get the money with the knowledge that you have.
Actions have consequences, my friends. That's something Spider-Man has never understood.
Like if you wanted to live forever, okay, well, how good is that? If you live forever and you just exist, well, just because you live forever doesn't mean that you can't get hurt, or you can't get the disease, or you can't
Nothing like an RPG to wake you up.
you can't be imprisoned, or you can't starve to death multiple times. So living forever is probably not a great pick. But it basically always has to be a combination, unless you pick something. That sucked. Unless you pick something relatively simple, it always has to be a combination of multiple powers to make it worthwhile, to make it actually useful. Spider-Man, for instance, he doesn't have necessarily super strength, but he's a lot stronger, you could say, than the average human being. He's about as strong as a spider would be if a spider had that size of a abdomen, or a body rather. That makes sense. In some stories he has the web fluid come out of his wrists, and some stories he has them come out of just mechanical devices that he used. I choose to use the interpretation of the mechanical devices only because that's canonically the main way that he gets webs. But he's strong. He can climb on the sides of walls with little spider-like hooks, I guess. I don't entirely understand that one. And he's got a spider sense, which is it's a sixth sense that senses incoming danger. No one of those abilities would be that useful without the other one. And then he has his just regular human ability, his capacity for knowledge, learning, inventing. That's what makes him Spider-Man. Those other three abilities are helpful, and make him able to do all the things that he invents, like his web slings. I don't think there's a human being on the planet that if they had these, if they actually had the technology to make these web slingers, that it would actually work, because you're experiencing so much G-force at like the apex of the swing, or the inverse apex of the swing, that you could probably rip your arms off. It'd be horrifying. Or at least pop them out of their sockets. Like Spider-Man weighs what, 150 pounds at least? 150 pounds, and his actual body, besides his arms, let's say his arms weigh 10 pounds apiece, which is pushing it. Let's say his torso, his legs, weighs 130. You have 130 pounds swinging between two joints. But it's not only 130 pounds, it's the G-force pulling you down as you swing back up that you're exerting yourself against. You're gonna either break bones, or your joints are gonna pop, or something's gonna happen, because there's just no way you can withstand. Even just for one swing, you're withstanding, let's say it's 3 times gravity, because you're moving at speed. 3 times gravity, so it's 3 times 130, is what your sockets gotta endure. And imagine doing that over and over and over again. Yeah, that's why he needs strength. He needs to be as strong as a spider would be if the spider's torso was that size. That's exactly why. And he does it with ease. I mean, he can lift whole cars. My car weighs over 3,000 pounds. So, and that's just a sedan. It's probably like one of these taxis, basically. In terms of like actual volume of weight. So if he can lift 3,000 pounds, he strains a little bit. But if he can lift 3,000 pounds, stopping a vehicle at speed, he's got more than enough strength to pull him around pretty easily. But you would need that level of strength. There's no way that you wouldn't. I don't think there's any real substitute for that.
Demons. None of them like me. I can't let them kill each other.
So that's why the Flash has this Flash Force or whatever, because there's no way he'd be able to run like that unless he had like other superpowers, being able to think fast, being able to have a metabolism that heals pretty quickly, because he's probably constantly ruining his joints as he's running. But yeah, sorry for the tangent, but I figured I'd talk about something rather than just have dead air. And not all my ideas are fully formed either, but, you know, I'm trying to play the game and do that. But a lot of the stuff I said you could actually look up. I'm sure there's a bunch of scientific studies on both, you know, getting one superpower and, you know, the whole thing about electronics. It's just, they're fascinating subjects to me, because when you dive deep into something that seems simple, you end up learning a lot more than you expected. If you ever like stuff like that, actually, Kaya Hill's channel, he does that all the time. And it sounds ridiculous. His titles always sound superfluous and kind of stupid. But what he discusses and what he finds out during these times that he's researching things is always super interesting. Those look like old Dell computers down there. And it's super interesting because there is so much that goes into it to even look at some of those
This
topics.
station's simple, but really important. It measures toxins in the air, way more sensitive than anything the city has. Bad air hits children and the elderly first. This was a big one for my mom.
If his data is accurate, there's way too much sulfur dioxide in the air. I have a spidey hunch this is caused by inefficient engine exhaust. If I get some fresh samples, I can identify the make and model and report them. Okay, got that one. This can't be good for me. Nice. Just need a few more samples.
So, like I said before, too, Tony Stark recognized Spider-Man for his intelligence.
Oh, that one smells.
I don't think Spider-Man's on that level of Tony, though.
Just a couple more.
Because if he was on that level of Tony, Spider-Man would have already been like an S-class superhero. He's honestly, like I said before, he's more like a minus, B plus class hero, where most encounters of things that he runs into he can deal with. But like, if he's
Okay.
up against
Looks like we
something
have 3 guilty parties. I'll need to get pictures of
that
them
the
for proof.
Avengers take on, it's hard to imagine him
Taking
handling
pictures.
it.
Just like the old Bugle days. Life was so much simpler back then.
By himself at least. Like the Hulk is just ridiculously strong, always angry, can do things no other being
That's
can
a
do
keeper.
sometimes. Captain America, he's kind of interesting because I would classify him as like a B tier hero, but his wits, not so much his like actual functional intelligence, but his wits. He's more of a tactician than anything.
And the hat trick.
Which is mainly just him.
All set.
Other than that,
Recall
he's
ordered,
more of just
courtesy of your Earth-friendly
take a
neighborhood
human,
Spider-Man.
and take all the sliders and put them up to about 400%, and that's Captain America in a nutshell. So he might be a little bit smarter than the average human. He's quite a bit stronger than the average human. He's he can run faster than the average human by far. So he's like, imagine all the athletes in the Olympics. Take the ones that win and then smash them together. Including like the strongman things. Smash them all together. That's what Captain America is. He's the best of human capacity. I think that's the best way to think about him. He does, in the Avengers movies, he does pull off some things that are just kind of, like, really... You could say that about all of them, but especially Captain America. He's hanging out with people that are, like, got friggin' rockets in their hands, and somebody who can lift, canonically, he can lift part of a city. And like a god that controls lightning. Like that's who he's hanging out with.
Attention units.
So
We have a break-in in progress. Reports are coming in from Little Tokyo.
it's interesting how he's there. And then you got people like Spider-Man who are mainly just taking care of one city. They're not taking care of the world. Not usually, anyway. I will say, though, there's something to having heroes that don't have unstoppable abilities. Because as soon as they have unstoppable abilities, it's very hard to make anything challenging for them, other than just like living in a normal human society, and that's basically what Superman is.
Let me tell you why this itsy bitsy brain spider was climbing this particular water spout, people. Because he
I missed it.
tampered with the water pressure system. He was seen earlier messing with a valve. That only
Yeah,
qualified workers are
it's
supposed
just
to use. Wake
just
up,
kind of interesting.
America! Spider-Man creates the problems, he then
I guess he does fall
solves,
more
and
into an
expects
A
you
tier
to
hero
reward
category,
him with your adoration.
because his intelligence pushes him up there.
Fortunately, you know better. Thanks to me.
Tony's S tier because he's just constantly his only power is his intelligence, and it's just shown time and time again what intelligence can do, and it's remarkable how he always has something for every situation. He's already thought about it. He's like what Batman wished. He's as smart. He's smarter than He's a lot smarter than Batman. He's what Batman wishes he could be. I'm actually surprised that they don't ever show Tony taking any like martial arts classes or anything. But I guess he doesn't need to, right? Because his suit's so damn strong that any martial arts that he would normally use wouldn't really work, because he has so much more power and so much more tools at his disposal that it just wouldn't matter. Ow. Ugh. Hopefully they come around the corner. No, they didn't. Damn. I'm trying to think of who else fits pretty firmly into like A tier superhero. Because if the Avengers, yeah, the Avengers are basically A tier. Did I get it screwed up? I think I did. Yeah, Spider-Man is B tier because A tier superheroes would be the Avengers. S tier superheroes would be the ones that are cosmic. They protect like planets. They don't protect a planet. They protect multiple. Those are the S tier. Guardians of the Galaxy is tough because they're a bunch of Spider-Man basically. They're a bunch of B tier superheroes. Like I would consider Captain America a more B tier superhero than than anybody. Like the only other one I can think of is Hawkeye. He's definitely a B tier superhero. Like he can just shoot arrows real good. That's his only power. Is he smart? Yeah, kind of, but he's not smart he's not like technologically smart. He's smart enough to make his arrows, kind of. I think Tony helps him out a lot with that, actually, now that I think about it. So, yeah, Hawkeye is just B. He just shoots arrows real good, I'm sorry. Spider-Man's, I don't know, like I said before, he falls into like low A, high B. Because he's not completely there, but he's almost. He's very, very close to becoming a planet-saving superhero, as opposed to just a city. He's always been on the cusp. He's very, very close. Because he's not quite as smart as Tony, but he has some superpowers that help him out. And he's devised a way to like get around pretty easily. But the thing is, his major weakness is if there ain't any tall structures around, he's kind of screwed in mobility. He could do a couple things, like he can swing, he can slingshot himself around, but he can't swing. His webs are also super strong. But they're supposed to degrade after a while. And he has to refill cartridges, so he has to depend on that. It's not just infinite. So I don't know. High B, low A is Spider-Man. Like, he could fit into the Avengers group without a problem. He should be in there more than Hawkeye. I'll say that much. Captain America's there for obvious reasons. He's the tactician. He's the leader. He's the... Tony's there for very obvious reasons. Thor is a friggin' god. So that makes a lot of sense right there. He's a cosmic being. He could protect planets. So he's actually S tier. Tony could potentially protect planets, but he's just a normal human. He has the potential, but he's not there. So he's still A tier. I kind of feel like Batman and Spider-Man, for all their differences, they both feel like low A, high B tier superheroes. Because Batman's got all these gadgets, all these different things going for him, and he does invent a couple of them himself, but most of them's made by like Wayne Tech. So he's not even like really making them himself. His detective work is amazing. It's better than almost every other detective on the planet. I think that is one of his canonical things, is that he's one of the best detectives in the world.
Reports are coming from Sty Village.
Which is kind of hard to believe. He knows martial arts styles that can deal with the average human 100 times over at once. I don't know how that works, but that's a canonical thing for him. And obviously he has gadgets. His cape allows him to glide. He has a grappling hook. But Spider-Man does that already. Like, he just swings everywhere.
Is this the behavior of a sane individual? I'll tell you what I think is going on
Spider-Man
here.
also
When I
has
was a lad, there was a problem with juvenile
above average
delinquents
strength.
sniffing
Like, I
clothes,
don't think
getting
Batman
hot.
can lift the car.
Knowing Spider-Man's weak moral character and thrill-seeking
So he's
personality,
definitely
I
stronger.
guess the same
He's got a
principle
sixth
is at work
sense.
here.
Batman's
Handling
got
toxic
training,
substances also damages
but
the
I don't
brain.
think he just has a
Actually
sixth
explains a lot
sense.
about Spider-Man.
So
He's swinging through the city, hopped up on smog.
I don't know. And then when you compare technologies, I mean, Spider-Man's better. He's got tiny little web shooters that cling onto walls, and he can just swing off them constantly. Batman's got a freaking grappling hook that just gets him up and across. That's it. And I mean, he's shown to have like swinging things, things that help him get around. But a lot of those are just either one-use things or things that he's just using in the moment because he needs to get up there. He's not like Grayless swinging around like Spider-Man is. Like, he needs a car or some vehicle to get really around, where Spider-Man doesn't. So I think Spider-Man is actually above Batman in a lot of the areas. There's not much that Batman can do that Spider-Man can't do better, other than maybe detective work. But even then, Spider-Man's a scientist. So his detective skills would have to be good because he's a scientist. Spider-Man literally studies and looks at variables all day. Identifies and analyzes variables and comes up with theories. That's what he does all day. That's what Batman does. He looks at all the variables out in the crime scene, tries to identify them all, comes up with theories, knocks down the theories once they don't make sense, and then goes with the most logical choice. That's what Spider-Man does every single day. Batman's only doing it when he's crime fighting. Spider-Man does it all the time. Personal life and work life. So, I don't know. Spider-Man kind of takes the cake. I think Spider-Man versus Batman, Spider-Man would win in a fight. I didn't think I would come to that conclusion, but I think Spider-Man would win. Yes, he's the only thing I can think of is sometime his immaturity gets the best of him, and that's the only case I can see Batman winning. But that's really it. Batman can't like just run up walls. He can climb them with tools, sure, but he can't just run like he's doing like in this game right now. He can glide, but Spider-Man doesn't need to glide. He can just swing, and swinging might actually be faster than the gliding because he's using his own momentum and magnifying it every time he swings. I don't know. So yes, Spider-Man actually deserves to be in Avengers more than most other characters do. Or most other characters I can think of. Superman is his own team, unfortunately. I say it's unfortunate because he's a character that is everything. Literally everything. He's a god. He's a god among gods. Like, I would love to see Thor and Superman throw down. If Thor and Superman, like Thor as he is in the newest movies, and Superman, if they threw down, it would be wild. It'd be the god of lightning versus the god of the sun, basically. I still know who would win. Because the problem with Superman is, as his creator has said, Superman's as strong as he needs to be. In other words, all the conflicts that Superman will ever face in the form of fighting, there's no tension. Because you know he's going to come up on top every single time. Superman's whole draw is that he's an alien, like a true alien, so he has a hard time dealing with people in society because he's just always going to be different no matter what. And he always has the challenge of always having so much power at his fingertips that if he's not careful, just by shaking somebody else's hand, he could crush them. Crush their hand, rather. If he tries to hug Lois, which is his girlfriend, wife, whatever, he has the potential to just crush her.
That car crash looks bad.
Not really paying
Hope no one's
attention.
injured.
Like not trying to do it, just accidentally. He has the potential to just crush her outright.
Oh, I've got you. Stay calm.
He has ice breath, so if he breathes too hard on somebody, or he just exhales too fast, he could freeze somebody to death.
Just a little more.
If he flies too, like, this is wild, but if he flies too fast around the Earth, he has the potential to reverse Earth's spin,
Whoever caused this wreck is
which would
nearby.
have catastrophic.
Stop them.
Oh, it disappeared? Okay, which would have catastrophic effects on the world. Like, it could be world-ending. I don't know if it would be, but it could be. So Superman's whole shtick is he knows his powers are greater.
Can't forget to stop by Feast. Need to get a look at Lee's office.
He knows his powers are far greater than any human could handle. So he has the responsibility and duty to use those powers for good. And his problem is he can, except for a few people, he has to constantly monitor and limit himself, or else he could kill a person.
Okay, this one confounded me for
Like,
a
he has
while.
X-ray vision and laser eyes as well. How ezy would it be just to use X-ray vision constantly and do whatever you want? Or to use laser vision and just cut anything you want. Just like instead of having your enemies put in jail, where you know they're probably gonna get out again, just cutting them down with your laser vision and be done with it. That's the other thing. Whenever he's versing an enemy or a problem, he only ever uses the amount of strength that's actually required, or the ability that's actually required. He never goes above and beyond and uses more than that. That's his whole thing. He has limitless power, but his challenge is he can never use it to its fullest extent. He always has to bring himself back from using 100% of it. And his normal life, he has to deal with the frustration of living with other human beings and not being able to fully express himself. That's his whole thing. He is S tier like Marvel is. Like Thor
Hey there.
is.
So if you're running this place while Mr. Lee's out of town, who's doing your old job?
Me. But I could always use more help. You know anyone?
Actually, I do. His name is Miles Morales.
Why does that sound familiar?
His father was being honored at City Hall.
Oh.
I talked to him at the funeral. He's a smart kid. He's just having a tough time.
I knew a boy like that once.
I remember it helped to stay busy. Might help him too. Here's his mom's number.
Thanks. I'll give her a call.
Hey, you haven't heard from Mr. Lee, have you?
No, why?
Just curious. I've got a few minutes before work. I'm gonna look around, see if there's anything else I can do to help you out.
Oh, you don't have to.
I know. I want to. I should check out Lee's office.
And sorry I went on so many tangents, but with that, I'm going to take a break. We'll resuming right from here, and I think DLSS or something is messing up, because you see those pixels on the table? That's a little weird. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see more. I did a lot of talking. I apologize I went on so many different tangents. I just felt like talking a lot today. If you guys want to comment, let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. Talk to each other. Just be respectful. And leave a like if you liked the video. And I will see you guys next time. So until then, have a good night. Have a good day.